It is no surprise that this is an area of the budget where we don't necessarily see eye to eye. I think ideologically, members of this conference committee and members of the General Assembly, there's one side that is supportive of moving towards a education model that is privatized, and there is a group of us who are against efforts to privatize education. I understand the die is cast before we walk out of the room on most of the items today and on this one in specific, but when I look towards the future of the state of Missouri and the things that keep me up at night and worry me, I am perpetually and continually concerned about this march towards privatization. My first 2 years up here, we were told if we open up this tax credit model and donors, interested donors can put money into it, families can tap into those funds and can go to private schools. And then it was no shorter than 2 years after that, we were told, well, that model isn't working. Now we need to use general revenue, tax dollars that could go to anything else in the budget to offset the cost of private school tuition for kids. And now, yet again, so soon after for the first time ever, putting tax dollars into private schools last year to the tune of $50 million for public K-12. I know that's an argument that the chair and I have had before. I'm not talking about higher education. I'm talking about a K-12 public education system. Now the next year we're coming back and we're being told yet again that we have to increase that number. My concern continues to be, number one, these schools do not have the pleasure and privilege of educating all children. Last year, we at least walked out of this budget room with our public schools fully funded with the statutory promise we've made to kids in classrooms across the state. The high 80s percent of children who call public schools home. We're not doing that this year. We've talked about some significant concerns in House Bill 2 that we passed out a few hours ago already. We're underfunding our foundation formula to the tune of $190 million. And we're sitting here again and saying, but while we're doing this, while we're not making the significant investments, promises that this body and past bodies have made to kids in public schools, we're once again increasing the dollars that are going to private schools. I understand that a lot of us on the committee are going to continue to see this very differently, but I want to caution us as we talk about the modernization of our funding formula and as we continue this march towards privatization, that we don't do one at the expense of the other. And that is what I feel like we're doing by underfunding our statutory obligation to kids in public school classrooms and once again increasing the amount of dollars going to ESAs. I would ask the question, when is it going to be enough? How many years are General Assembly going to come back into this room and continue to expend funds at private schools that don't educate all children, that aren't held to any of the statutory legislation? How many times have I stood on the floor upstairs and asked my House members, why aren't you making this piece of legislation overreaching and pertinent to private schools? And the answer is that we can't. Well, if we think these are good ideas for our kids in public schools, and if we think these bureaucratic parameters that we're putting around, we have no ability to do that when we're sending dollars to private schools. I understand that I'm in the minority on this, but I do hope that future General Assemblies, I would imagine we're going to get to the 60 million, but I have sincere and genuine concerns about a continued march towards privatization when we don't have any of the data that the senator was requesting. The last thing I will say, I've had to sit in a budget room and hear time and time again about how child care fraud in other parts of the country mean that we shouldn't make investments in child care here in Missouri. That same fraud can be found in ESA voucher programs across the country. If we have this, I would just ask that we're consistent. If we have concerns about what happens in other states, we should be holding ourselves to that same level and that same scrutiny. I almost said the lady, I know that's a House thing, I'm so sorry. The senator mentioned one example of the treasurer not upholding a level of scrutiny that I would have for these voucher dollars. And I just, again, would caution that as we move forward, we don't privatize our educational systems at the expense of children in our public schools, and we don't continue to underfund the promise that we've made to families.